Hey guys, welcome back here to Intuitive Angling. Really appreciate you guys coming by the channel and checking out today's episode. And today guys, I'm going to explain to everybody why you should never use lure straight out of the package when you buy it. I don't care, if it's crankbait or something like that or a soft plastic lure. Every one of them I modify. I don't ever just take it out of the package and put it on, because by doing that, by having some very simple modifications on there, not only it will increase your confidence, I just think you get more bites on it. So I'm going to talk about some of the things that I do to modify my baits right out of the box. Definitely think it's going to add up to some good fish for you guys. Also guys, before we get started, a quick reminder, anybody interested in booking an on-the-water private lesson with me, just go to my Facebook page, Intuitive Angling with Randy Blaukat, and you can send me a private message there for all the details. I do most of my on-the-water lessons here on Table Rock or Stockton Lake. And also guys, you may have heard me or seen one of my Facebook posts. I'm going to show you my favorite, or one of my favorite color jigs for the month of April. And that's a black and chartreuse with a blue chunk on it. This is my Blaukat Throwback jig. I'll link this in the description of the video if you guys would like to try one of my black and chartreuse jigs. But flip it and pitch it around, any type of shallow cover. If you have water visibility under about 2 foot, definitely get you some good bites with this color combination. The big fish really like it, so appreciate that there. Okay guys, I'm going to show you some of the stuff that I do with it. Now I don't care, when you get a bait out of the box like this, most of the time, it looks perfect. I mean, it looks, all the finish is perfect. It's shiny, it just looks really good. And there's nothing in nature that looks like that. So what I want to do is I want to try to mess it up a little bit, to try to make it look wounded. Because if you've ever noticed, some of your favorite baits are the ones that are chewed up the most. Some of the jerk baits that I use, guys, you can't even hardly tell what color the paint is on there. But there's been so much paint knocked off by fish hitting it and hitting against rocks that it just looks terrible, but the fish love it. So I want to create imperfections on my baits. So the way that I do it, first of all, there's 2 different things that I do. First of all, I take just get you a kitchen Brillo pad, or you can even use a knife or a file. I've used both with it, and just take some of the shine off of it. I don't care, like I said, it's a file or a knife. Just taking this Brillo pad and just dulling that a little bit right off the bat, it just gives it just sort of a different look to it. Just sort of knocks that shiny finish off it a little bit. And then the next thing that I do on almost any hard bait that I use, crankbait, jerkbait, or whatever, is I take red fingernail polish and I paint gills on it. Now, some baits come with the gills red, but I don't like that, because any bait that I've ever seen that has red gills painted on it, they look perfect. I mean, the red is like perfectly drawn. I want to create a look on my red gills that looks sort of messed up a little bit. So I'm going to, purposely sort of make it a little messed up looking like that. But I'll take, and most of the baits, they've got the gill outline on them. So I'm taking that red fingernail polish for a couple different reasons here, outlining it just like that. Now there's a couple different things that this does. Fish, are predators, anytime they see a wounded bass that's got red on it, they tend to attack it. Another thing it does, when you put red on the gills, it creates a focal point for the fish. And a lot of times they focus on that red, so they'll hit it more towards the head. And when the fish hits the bait more towards the head, you have a better chance of getting 2 hooks in them rather than they just nip on the back. So that's one of the major modifications. I do this to most every crankbait or jerkbait that I fish, just like that. And the soft plastic, this is one of the things we've talked about a lot on the channel. I break the salt up in them. I'll just take them, again, they're perfect looking. Most soft plastics have salt, they're a little bit stiff. This is an old trick that I've talked about. You guys on the channel have seen me do this a ton. If you haven't, just break that salt up, bring it to the surface. And what this is gonna do, it's gonna create, the bait is gonna look sort of wounded, and it's also gonna soften it up a lot. It's gonna make it more pliable. So see how that sort of brings that salt to the surface? And then on most every soft plastic that I use, I don't care, what it is, as far as if it's a worm or a creature bait, I always want to put a little bit of chartreuse or orange dye on the tail. Now, sometimes it's just a little tiny bit. Sometimes it's just a little puff of the chartreuse right on the tail there. Sometimes I'll go higher up, but I want just a little bit of chartreuse on there on about any soft plastic that I use. I just think that I don't care if it's clear water or dirty water. It just seems like that works a little bit better with that. And then finally, I always want to modify it by putting some type of a scent on it. Guys, I've started using this bait pop scent. I'll link this in the description. The cool thing about the bait pop, it's got real fish, amino acids in it, and it stays on your bait. You just put some on your finger like that, and you rub it on your bait everywhere, and it stays for like a half hour on there. You don't have to like spray it on. And the combination of, the dye on there, the roughed up plastic, the scent, it just makes it very appealing to fish. Like fish just love that type of a deal there. But I know a lot of people, especially like if you buy a mega bass lure or something like that, I've heard people say, Randy, I'm not gonna scratch that brand new $30 crankbait or $20 crankbait up and paint gills on it and stuff. Guys, it works. I mean, it just gives me a lot more confidence. And one of the things that you can't discount on fishing is having a little trick up your sleeve. And sometimes modifying that bait it's something that not only gives you an edge that the fish haven't seen before, but it gives you more confidence knowing that nobody has that bait. Because when you make a modification on your bait, it's a modification people don't do. They're not buying it off a retail store shelf, and it adds up to a few more fish. And then finally, one of the modifications I do is most baits, they're better now than they used to be, but a lot of lure companies will try to save a little bit of money on their hooks. So I usually always replace my hooks, guys, with the best hook on the market for treble hooks. And this is that Gamakatsu Finesse treble hook. This is a nano-coated O'Shaughnessy bend. I'll link this in my video description too. This is the highest quality hook that you can use on any type of a hard bait. I hardly ever lose any fish with this hook. So I usually do that hook upgrade modification with about any lure that I use. But anyway, guys, that's just a few quick modifications. Try it. Like I said, if you haven't tried that before, don't worry about messing your bait up. It's not going to hurt anything. I can promise you it's only going to help you catch more fish. So anyway, guys, hope it helps you catch some good ones, and we'll talk later.